They did a very low-key, poor, traditional marriage, and all the villagers laughed at them to scum, especially the ladies he had asked out. Their marriage became a thing of mockery. In a small village called Okoroba, there lived a man named Temuno. Temuno was a simple farmer. He planted crops and cleared people's farms to survive. His family was so poor that even the poor in the village called them poor. He was the only child of Grandma and Grandpa AKN. His entire lifetime, all Grandpa AB had achieved was an old bicycle, which is still rides a Grandpa AK, was nearly 90 years old, but was very strong and smart, and still goes to the farm. He was a very poor man, but was always a cheerful old man. He believed his son wouldn't end up poor like him, even though he didn't know how some days Temuno would cry looking at their very old house, his parents, and the fact that he couldn't do anything to help their situation at the moment killed him the most. He couldn't even further his school, but stopped at high school. But Grandpa would encourage him and tell him he would be a great man someday. Son, just do what you're doing. Don't stain your hands. Let your conscience be pure. And keep working hard. One day, it will be your turn to shine. These words kept Temuno going each time he felt like giving up. He remembered his father's words, and he would have a sense of hope to continue. Son, you know, there's hope in a living dog than a dead lion, Gramp would often ask him, and he would answer, yes, Papa. At the age of 30, Temuno wanted a wife, but no one wanted him. All the ladies in the village laughed at him. Can you even pay my bright price, even though you work for a whole year? You would never come close. They would say. Some would call him poor and wretched and mock him, saying, will you sell your father's old bicycle to pay my brie price? He couldn't have a girlfriend because no one wanted to date him. One day, while returning from the farm, he met a very beautiful woman from Okoba. She was an orphan. She didn't have friends. She was also the only child of our late parents. She had nothing but an old sewing machine that she had inherited from a late mother. With it, she amends people's clothes to survive, as she also feeds from their small farm. Though Temuno is from a poor home, Tina's case was worse than his. They quickly became friends, as they had both been isolated. Finally, seeing someone they could talk to was a relief. Tam quickly asked Tina to marry him. I want to see your relatives. But Tina said, I don't have any relatives that I know of. It has always been me and my parents before they passed on. I have an elderly couple who lives close to my house. They are like my parents. They've really been encouraging. I'll talk to them to stand for me as my parents. Oh, that's fine, Temuno said. So they did a very low-key, poor, traditional marriage, and all the villagers laughed at them to scum, especially the ladies he had asked out. Their marriage became a thing of mockery. People would say they can only marry each other. They are perfect. Poverty plus poverty equals object poverty. They would laugh. Tam and Thina didn't care. They were happy whether people call them names. It didn't bother them. What mattered to them was that they are married and they happy with each other. They were always together, going to the farm and market together. Some elderly villagers admired their love, but those young women kept humiliating and mocking them. One sunny day, Temuno was weeding his farm. As usual, he was working very hard when he encountered a strong tree with a very, very deep roots. He tried to pull the tree out while weeding, but he couldn't. Tam decided to dig round the roots. He dug and dug, but it seemed the root went deeper and deeper. He was tired, but something inside said to him, keep digging. So Temuno kept digging. He saw something shining from the roots. He kept digging and found a big shiny diamond. He quickly covered it with clothes and put it inside a stool bag. Then he pulled out the tree and ran home. Temuno ran straight to his father. Tam showed the diamond to his father. His father's eyes widened in shock and happiness. Do you know what this is, son? It's a diamond, his father said. But we must not tell anyone. Let it remain within the walls of this house, son. Do you know what this means? This is a fortune if we sell it. Tam didn't really know the what of the diamond, but Grandpa knew. Very early tomorrow morning, we go into the city to see my friend Mr. Tony, who's a goldsmith. He will help us check if it's a real diamond or not. Tony is a good man, and he won't cheat us. That night, Grandpa called Mr. Tony and explained everything to him, and they arranged to meet the next day. Early the next morning, Temuno and his father set out for the city. When Mr. Tony saw the diamond, he screamed. This is what billions, they all screamed in excitement. Mr. Tony said, I know a very rich man who's into buying and selling of pure gold, diamonds, and all manner of precious stones. You'll buy it. That night, Temuno and Grandpa AK stayed in Mr. Tony's house. They spent the night discussing and making plans. They were very excited. The next day, they went to the rich man's house. The rich man was very happy when he saw the diamond. He knew it was a real one, and so he bought the diamond quickly and paid them a huge amount of money. Temuno and his family became boni, and in one day, with the help of Mr. Tony, they bought a beautiful house in the city. Temuno went back to the village to bring his wife and mother. To their new home in the city, KY was sent to a big fashion school in the city. After 1 year and 6 months, she graduated as the best student and started her own fashion house. Many apprentices came to learn from her. Temuno also started a furniture business. He had always loved the furniture business, but he never had the money to start it now. He was very successful at it. One day, Tuna's father said to him, "My son, we are old and not used to this city life. We want to go back to our village and live in our house. That's where we belong, and that's where we want to be buried. You and your wife can stay in the city, but please, when we join our ancestors, don't abandon the village. Visit the house with your children. Don't isolate it." Temuno replied, "I've heard you, Papa, but you're not going back to that old house. Give me 3 months so we can transform the house." The building started, and the villagers were surprised. Nobody knew what was happening in 3 months. Temuno built a beautiful mansion in the village for his parents. When they arrived the village, they came in a very beautiful jeep. The entire village was into the maidens who had mocked Temuno shouted in shock and regrets, "Chai, it's not good to write anybody off. Oh, they said God can change anybody." Temuno and his wife spent a week with his parents in the village before returning to the city. They took good care of Grandpa and Grandma, sending them weekly allowance. His parents never walked again and lived happily. 5 years later, they died peacefully at a good old age, as they had promised. Temuno and his family visited the village every year, especially during Christmas. They employed someone to take care of the house at the village, and so they lived a moral lessons. The moral of the story is never write anybody off. As long as there's life, there's hope. He didn't create any man, so you can't make him. God created the entire universe in 6 days. He doesn't need 10 years to bless a man. He can lift a man up when you least expect. You can sleep a poor man today and wake up a rich man tomorrow. That is the kind of God we serve. He is the lifter of men. I hope you enjoyed watching as much as I enjoyed creating. Don't forget to like, share, and comment. And if you've not subscribed yet, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you'll be notified each time we make a new post. Stay tuned for more exciting stories. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.